How's it going, everybody? Tactard Ted, another one for the 7th of September. What are we going to talk about today? Let's talk about American anti-fascist. Let's talk about anti-fascism, shall we? A lot of people run around and they talk that they are an anti-fascist, that they don't like fascism. They really don't. They don't like fascism. They don't like fascism. And they see fascism everywhere except where there's actual fascism. Interesting, isn't it? Let me give you some examples. Putin's a fascist, but we'll overlook Ukrainian Nazis. Actual fascists. Guys throwing the stiff arm salute. We don't see those. Hell no, we don't see those. No, that's not real Nazism. I used to joke about that. That was why I used to say Nazi scumbags are more honest than commie scumbags, because Nazi scumbags don't go around saying, well, that wasn't real National Socialism, that wasn't real Nazism. No, we got people saying that. Unfortunately, they're mostly communist or useful idiots that are conservative or liberal. Oh, those aren't really Nazis. No. What gave it away? Walks like a duck, talks like a duck. It must be a parakeet. Oh my God, it's got to be a parakeet. The Nazi swastika flags, the Nazi tattoos, the stiff arm salute. They're copies of Mein Kampf that they're worshiping at. And don't get me wrong, I've got a copy of Mein Kampf. I really like to get in the side of a mind that is just totally twisted. But of course, after reading stuff like the Communist Manifesto or Mein Kampf, you soon realize that you just can't wrap your head around crazy. It just doesn't happen. But we have so many of these American so-called neo-communist, neo-socialist, anti-fights or Pantifa or whatever the hell they're called. We got so many of these guys that run around seeing Nazis everywhere, but when they look at Ukraine, they look at Right Sector, they look at Azov, they look at Adar, they look at the Sloboda Party, they look at all this shit, and they can't see a Nazi. No, there ain't no Nazis there. No, those are just young Ukrainian youth living the moment. And sure, they got that swastika there, but that isn't really what that's about. No, that isn't really what that's about. And it's not like they're hanging pregnant women or shelling fucking kids in the middle of the street and then turn around and naming drinks after terrible atrocities they committed. By the way, that's reality. There is a bar in Kiev that is serving cocktails on the Madonna of Donetsk, which was a young mother. There's a photograph out there of a young mother and her very, very, very small toddler daughter that were murdered in a Ukrainian shelling attack back in 2014, and they've named a drink after that. There's also, in a bar in Kiev, there's also a drink named the Alley of Angels. The Alley of Angels is a monument to all the children that have been killed in Donetsk. Can you imagine a bar in the United States making a drink called, or no, better yet, serving a sandwich called Waco Barbecue? Or, any numerous references to things that are abhorrent, things that are, like naming some sort of a drink after the Valdez school massacre or Columbine. The Columbine combo, yeah, wouldn't that be just great? That would be very distasteful. And if you did that sort of thing, I would hope that people would call you out as being an idiot. But hey, these are the people we're supporting, the same type of people who name drinks after atrocities they've committed in Donetsk. And I mean, that's not anything a Nazi would do, is it? That isn't anything a fascist would do. And of course, we don't see fascism in this country. Fascism where they basically they don't allow any opposing views, like Facebook, where where they will ridicule, ban, and do terrible things to you if you don't follow the narrative, like YouTube. No, we'll overlook that fascism. That fascism's all right. That fascism, the Pantifas and the wannabe commies, they're okay with that. They're okay with silencing you. They really hate the Constitution. They really hate the Bill of Rights. And they're more than willing to shut you up and shut you down and then say that you are the fascist. I mean, what a wonderful world. Yeah, I'm a fascist. No, I pretty much don't tell people to shut up. I don't try to shout people down. If you can't have a rational argument with me, then I'm not really too worried about you, because you immediately start dropping fascist, racist, all sorts of things that are, dog whistles. Use your own terminology. It's a dog whistle. Basically, it's made to shame me into shutting up because you can't argue with me. You can't make your own point. Now, I can agree to disagree on a lot of things. But the fact is, most of these people that run around using fascist quite a bit tend to be fascistic. And the amazing thing to me is Antifa gets to be the point where they hate fascism so much that they became fascist. I love all these little kids running around that they're edgy and they're Antifa and they're this and they're that. Dude, you guys don't have the work ethic that's going to be required to build your own fucking gulags that they're going to contain you in. And you guys haven't learned history. You haven't learned history at all. A good example of what happens after a communist revolution is the story of the cruiser Aurora. The cruiser Aurora, a naval ship in Petrograd, fired the shots that signaled the start of the revolution in 1917. They were the vanguard, the Russian Navy was, of a lot of the revolutionaries. And if you see photographs from that time, or even paintings, there's usually always a sailor, a Russian sailor, hanging out somewhere in either the photograph or the picture. And they were very, very, very adamant about the revolution moving forward. Now, flash forward to just a few years, and those revolutionaries of the Aurora weren't happy with what the Bolsheviks were doing. They weren't happy with the shape that the revolution was going. This isn't what they had signed on for. And they were becoming rebellious. Now, what did the communists do? Did they say, oh, hey, yeah, you guys supported us, man, we understand, look, we can work this out? No, what they did is, it was winter, ice everywhere. The ship was basically frozen in place, the Aurora. And they sent the Red Army across the ice to kill the sailors on their ship. Why? Because they dared to be revolutionary and then didn't like the revolution they got. And a lot of revolutionaries from the Russian Revolution and the Russian Civil War eventually ended up in labor camps and gulags. Why? Because they didn't get what they wanted. And they were very, very radical. They supported the most radical among them. And when those radicals got in power, they didn't need them anymore. They were all useful idiots. Even really, when you get down to it, even the really hardcore communists, or people who thought they were hardcore communists, were nothing more than useful idiots. They were used to get the people in power, and once the Bolsheviks were in power, they did what they want. And if you don't like the direction the revolution was taking, too bad, so sad. Here, Go dig a ditch in Siberia for the next 20 years or until you die, which I guarantee you probably ain't going to make 20 years. This is where we're at. And this is the same mindset. People don't learn from history. You know, it's amazing. I get told that, you know, I love it when I get told I hate democracy. No, I love freedom of speech. I love the Second Amendment. And I'm not doing things to curb those. Look, if you're a nasty, no good communist son of a bitch, you got a right to speak your mind. That's constitutionally guaranteed. If you're a no good Nazi son of a bitch, you also have the right to speak your mind. That's guaranteed under the Constitution. And I may not like what you have to say, but you have the right to say it. And no one has the right to just up and silence you because they don't like what you're saying. That's not what this shit's about. And I'm offended. So what? You're fucking offended. Where does I'm offended work? Where does the term I'm offended subvert my constitutional rights? The First Amendment. I don't see you have these rights unless you offend someone. Or the Second Amendment. Yeah, the well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, unless somebody does a lot of bad shit with guns. Then forget it. It's null and void. No, that isn't how any of this works. And I'm fine if you don't like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But that's not the way it works. And you're allowed to bitch about it. You're allowed to put forth whatever it is you want. But don't be surprised when somebody else has an opinion that doesn't match yours. I'll give you a really, really good example. All the Ukrainian fanboys. Gotta stand with Ukraine. Pooty poot, pooty poot, pootler. Yeah, I love it. There's a lot of the same people talking Putin, calling him pootler. If you call Biden pedo Hitler, they lose their shit. They get upset. I don't ever remember Putin sniffing kids on camera. I don't remember Putin's kid having a laptop full of a bunch of nonsense and kiddie porn and other shit. Can't say that about the Biden family. I can't remember any of Putin's kids getting kicked out of the Navy because of their coke habit. Can't say that about the Biden family. That's all public record, by the way. But yet, somehow, I don't have the right to say, hey, I support Putin. You wouldn't believe how many people want to give me threats and how many people want to shut me down. Damn piece of hair. Yeah, another piece of hair. There you go. Damn dog shedding or something. Anyhow, yeah, I got a German Shepherd. He's anti-fascist too. He's a German Shepherd, not a Nazi Shepherd. I'll explain the difference one day. Just joking. You have the right to. You have a right to say you don't like Putin. I have a right to say I don't like Zelensky, and you don't have a right to expect me to shut up. And the unfortunate thing about freedom of speech, there is an unfortunate drawback. A lot of people who don't know shit and a lot of people who aren't informed get to say what they want. And a lot of times I dig it for the same reason we used to let the Russians send copies of Pravda into this country during the Soviet times. Because once that gets out there and you see just how Looney Tune and how detached from the real world these folks are, you don't fear them. You don't fear them. You understand they're crazy. You understand they're uninformed. I still wonder today how many people, and the sad thing is this isn't uninformed people. This is people who think they're informed. I wonder how many people still think that the Russians are using conscripts in Ukraine. I wonder how many people. Because until those areas of Ukraine become Russian territory, according to Russian law, you're not allowed to use conscripts. Conscripts can only serve on the territory of the Russian Federation. This is law. This is how they do things. And yet people don't get it. They're just a bunch of mindless conscripts. The only conscripts that are on this battlefield happen to be Ukrainian conscripts. The same guys who are surrendering. The same guys that are going forward and becoming body bag fillers or pig food or whatever. But here we're getting off topic. We're talking about fascism. You can be fascist and still a communist. You absolutely can. And the totalitarian, I think, probably would be easier just to put a communism and fascism always lead to totalitarianism. Always. You cannot show me a communist country that's not totalitarian. You cannot show me of the 3 fascist states that have existed in history. You cannot show me one that's not totalitarian. And speaking of totalitarianism, we're getting there in this country. Every time this country, they want to take away your rights. And just not the government. And one time, you had organizations like the ACLU that would protect everybody's rights. Everybody's rights, even scumbags. Skokie, Illinois, the Nazi protests there during the late 70s is a prime example of how the American Civil Liberties Union protected everyone, even scumbags, because Constitution applies to the good guys, the bad guys, and the absolutely terrible guys. Everyone has a constitutional right if you're an American citizen. And, the ACLU actually defended Nazis that wanted to have a march in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood in Skokie, Illinois. Look it up. Now, do I agree with the Nazis' point of view? No, I don't. Do I agree with the right to freedom of speech being upheld? Absolutely. Why would I do that? Why would I want to see guys being able to put out their message? Because they have that right. You have a right to decide what you want to hear. You do. You don't like what's on the radio? Turn it down. You don't like what's on the TV? Change the channel. You don't like what's printed in the paper? Don't read it. But you don't have a right to tell me I can't say it. Now, we've got to the point now where you just, there's so much pressure. You can get ruined in this country for not saying the right thing. You can. You can. I am sure if I had different employment and I had a different job situation, I could probably get fired if enough pressure was put on. In fact, I've had people call my employer previously in the past. And my employer basically said, really? So Dave is all those terrible things. Well, where can I find more like him? Why? Because I have a work ethic. I do what I'm told, and I do a lot of things that other people don't want to do for money. I could sit home and play video games all day. I couldn't. I've got to make money. I've got a family to support. And we are all about ruining people if they don't agree with the things we agree with. Good example. Politically, I can't stand Mark Hamill. Can't stand him. He's a left-wing hack. Politically, I don't like him. I am a fan of some of the characters he's created over the years. I'm a fan of his voice work. I don't want to see Mark Hamill lose a gig because I don't agree with him. I just don't agree with him. He's got to, he can go make a living. That's fine. And I can decide what I want to support of his and what I don't. But I don't need to see him ruined. I know I don't agree with him. I don't understand why we become such petulant children when somebody says something we don't like. They got to be ruined. Just what the hell's about that? Oh, we got a clown locally here. You know, he's got a lot of issues. He likes to be a little troll. He likes to do all sorts of nasty things. He's been in trouble with the law repeatedly. And you know, I don't call his place of employment and say, yeah, you gotta get rid of this guy. Because that ain't how it works. And yeah, guys, come on, guys. We all need to be adults. Anyhow, I gotta go. Looks like I got work to do. Take care. Bye.